synchronized, like dominoes falling down one after the other. By the time they finally pulled onto Lincoln Highway, there were never any accidents because no one ever went anywhere. My dad was a member of the United Electrical Workers Union, and he'd go on strike any time one of his fellow members was sent home, whether it was justified or not. They'd walk out if a line worker who got drunk during lunch was told to go sleep it off for the rest of the afternoon. It seemed as if they were constantly striking, and every time they did, it hit us hard. It always felt like we would never recover. There were close to 30 guys who worked at Westinghouse that lived in the project. I remember calls from the shop steward to my mom telling her my dad was on his way home and everyone from the project was going to huddle together to figure out what to do next. Sometimes my dad would pick up work as a mechanic. Other times he'd drive a trash truck around West Philly. And occasionally he'd walk the picket line. It seemed as if there was always something dangerous going on there, men being beaten, cars being flipped over and torched. My father wasn't a big man, but my aunts, uncles, cousins, and his friends called him Kingy because he always won when they played King of the Hill. Nobody messed with him. He had grown up on a 14-acre farm where the town used to dump all the garbage, so the pigs his father owned could forage through it and have something to eat. My grandfather, Vincenzo, had bow legs and hairy ears and hairy nostrils. He came to the United States from Italy with his father in 1899 when he was 7 years old. The two of them settled on a farm in Delaware County and then sent for his mom and 5 younger brothers and sisters. Vincenzo Papale had a wonderful singing voice, and he and all his brothers used to play instruments like the viola or the violin and sing together on Sunday afternoons. My grandfather believed the oldest children were to sacrifice for the youngest, which is why he and his nearest brother in age worked the farms and pushed their younger siblings to go to school. His youngest brother, Tony, would become a lawyer and eventually the dean of Loyola University in New Orleans. Vincenzo Papale also subscribed to the parenting philosophy that children were to be seen and not heard. My dad was the second oldest of the 9 Papale kids, and he and the oldest, his brother Gus, had to quit school in 8th grade to work on the farm. This was during the Depression, and my grandfather needed to supplement what he made working the assembly line at a local Ford factory by selling beets, corn, and tomatoes at local markets. He even sang around town with his hat in his hand. He developed a work ethic that would last for the rest of his life. For 30 years he worked at that Ford plant, changing jobs as he got older, from assembly line worker to spray painter to forklift operator. He'd work from 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, then come home and spend 3 hours tilling the farm. When he was done, he'd take what he had picked and sell it in the local markets, and what he didn't sell, he canned. All his children had fresh spaghetti sauce year-round because of all the tomatoes he produced. But the sting of the Depression would never leave him. Like so many people during those lean years, the times made him hard and angry. Years later, my Aunt Suzanne, who was actually born 3 years after me, when my grandfather was 58, would say, "Daddy, tell me about the Depression." My grandfather would respond, "Well, there were men with 1 child jumping off bridges, and I had 8. He'd often take it out on his oldest boys, not just in work, but also in anger, or worse, indifference. One afternoon, my dad was cleaning the family outhouse and got some lye in his eye. He was screaming, stumbling around the farm looking for help from anyone who could hose down his eye. When his father found him, he washed out the lye and then told him to get back outside to finish working. My father's eye was so badly damaged, he became legally blind. Given the way he grew up, it's no surprise my father sometimes acted as though my mother and sister and I were burdens. He didn't know any better. The most emotional I ever saw him get was after our cat, Mittens, killed his parakeet, Pretty Boy. He loved that bird. It used to perch itself on the edge of his newspaper, and it looked like the two of them were reading it together. I think he talked to Pretty Boy more than he talked to me. At times, it seemed he definitely loved that parakeet more than he loved my mom. When it died, he cried, and I remember saying to myself, "Come on, Dad. You should have known better than to leave the cage open with Mittens around." Mittens disappeared the next day. My father never hit us, but it wasn't a house where we heard the words, "I love you," very often. He wasn't the type of person who would allow you to get close to him. I never disliked him or resented him. I just wanted to please him.